The more you look at what the science is doing, especially the neuroscience world, they found out over the years that doesn't matter how old you are, neural pathways, these little wires in your brain, still keep happening as long as you keep learning something new. If you stop learning, you stop growing. That's when the brain gets stagnant.
Welcome to Homes That Heal, the podcast that transforms your life and home into a sanctuary of health, healing, and happiness. Hi, I'm Jen Heller, a wellness educator, infrared sauna expert, and your guide to living intentionally. Each week, we'll explore a variety of wellness tools, along with detoxification, weight loss, and anti-aging tips to boost your energy and align your mind and body so you can thrive in life, not just survive. Your health is your wealth, and it all starts at home. Let's dive in and create a home that heals. Hey friends, Jen here. Welcome back to Homes That Heal. I hope you're having an amazing week so far, and thank you so much for tuning in. I am really excited to share today's show with you because I'm joined by not just a dear friend, but one of the most pivotal and influential individuals in my life. Peter Kolat, otherwise known as Polish Peter, is a speaker, podcast host, and one of the most powerful transformational coaches I know. It's no secret that Mark and I have been involved with the organization called Life in Air for many years. I've talked about it on my show many times and how it's completely changed our lives. To say it's transformed our health, our wealth, marriage, priorities, and overall life is a vast understatement, actually. There aren't enough words or hours for me to fully describe how impactful this group has been for us. And the icing on the cake is Peter has been our coach every step of the way. We've done the inner work, of course, ourselves, and transformation has to come from within. However, I can say with absolute certainty, there's no way I would be where I'm at today with my health, my healing, my relationships, my career, my purpose, my alignment, even this show without Peter. And there is no way that Mark would be sober right now, living his best life if it weren't for Peter. I say that with tears of gratitude literally in my eyes right now. He's been our coach through it all, the guiding light to help us create a rock solid vision, and the beacon of accountability to hold our feet to the fire when needed. Mark has always known that if he can't get his point across to me, he can always go to Peter, and Peter will help me see it through a different lens, which has definitely been in his favor a few times, to be quite honest. Peter and I are great friends, and we also have a lot in common, which is why we align so well. He's deeply connected to his faith, family, and freedom, and overall guided by God and purpose. His passion in life is to encourage others to discover their potential and true self. He's genuinely one of the most caring and compassionate people I know. Plus, he has an incredible story. His family came to the U.S. from communist Poland when he was 14. He had this Hollywood image of what America was, had no idea what to expect. Plus, he didn't speak English. He quickly had to figure it out and found an interesting way to learn. He excelled in school and then later got married and was blessed with 3 kids. Fast forward a few years, though, and he found himself divorced and in one of the darkest periods of his life. What happened from there is truly remarkable, and Peter has since inspired literally thousands to shift their minds out of limiting beliefs and into greater thinking. Peter also recently wrote a book about his journey, which I highly recommend. It's basically the roadmap to creating your ultimate vision and how to live it. I've had the honor of reading his book already, and not surprising, it's fantastic. It's humbling, inspiring, and will no doubt light you up. Check out the link in the show notes below to pre-order your copy today. It just went on sale this week, and trust me, you will want to get on the list. So without further ado, I am super grateful and honored to welcome my friend, Polish Peter, to the show. Peter.
Hey.
Peter? How is it? I know. How exciting is this? I wore my Grateful Life in Air shirt today, too.
I love it. Very cool. Awesome.
Great.
Thank you so much. Listen, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate it. So hopefully I can rock it out for you people here.
This is such an honor, honestly. We're going to talk about your book. We're going to talk about all sorts of exciting stuff that you have going on. But honestly, the synchronicity of how this happened actually was really interesting because I was thinking about you. I had written your name down because I'm kind of creating and cultivating Q3 and 4 guests for my show. And then I saw your post about the book. And then this date opened up and I was like, this is interesting, but it's such an honor to have you on the show. The massive impact that you've had on my life as well as Mark's life. So
And now you're gonna start give me
I
crying in the
I know. I was gonna say. I told myself this morning. I'm like, don't cry, Jen, don't cry. But it's so full circle, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you so much. And I'm excited to shine a bright light on you today, though. So
Oh,
that's
that's
gonna.
awesome.
I'm gonna give the floor to you. But really, our life in our family has completely changed our life and my life in so many ways. I can't even put it into words. But why I wanted to talk to you was to talk a little bit about your childhood, all the work that you're doing to help other people, and obviously why you wrote the book. So let's
Bring it. Let's do it.
get into it. Yeah. So first of all, I think it's probably the best place to start would be to take me back to Poland and let's talk about your childhood. You're like, whoa, right out of the gate.
That's okay. Well, listen, Poland. So I was born in communist Poland was back then in the 70s. So I just did it myself. I mean, I'm century old. Look at that, right?
Oh my God. We only get better with time. Let's be
That's
honest.
right. But yeah, I was born in a communist country. So the first probably 7 years I lived in this like 14 by 14 apartment. It was like everybody lived in like it's almost like a hotel. And it was a hallway down the middle. And each family had a room off to each side. And that was my living room, the bedroom, the little playroom that I had, and a kitchenette off to the side. And the bathrooms were at the end of the hallway where everybody used that bathroom, right? Imagine sharing your bathroom with strangers. That's fun, right?
I
So,
know.
yeah.
And a day now where people are like, I need a primary bathroom. Like
Yeah.
you were in a community bathroom.
That was it. And so, yeah, that was the first 7 years. And then when I was 8 years old, my parents got divorced. And what ended up happening is back then, I think still it's true to this day, the United States was the land of opportunity, right? It was like money grows on trees kind of a thing. I remember actually hearing when I was a kid, listen, money grows on trees in the United States. And I literally thought that that's the case. You know,
What?
I swear, yeah. Because I'm like, 7, 8 year old kid. I'm like, maybe they have some magic trees over there. I don't know, right? But the thing is, but if you really think about it, and literally it doesn't happen, but if you come here and the opportunities that we have and what this country provides for you, it's like money grows on trees kind of a thing, right? You just need to go and actually take action and grab it, and we can talk more about that. So, but when I was 8 years old, what ended up happening is because of that conversation, my mom came to United States to make us some money, work for a little time, and then she would go back and, Poland, and we lived together, right? So while that she was over here, I ended up moving with my uncle for about 6 years. And when I was 14, my mom came back to Poland to visit us, and ended up being that she just came back to bring us back to United States. So when I was 14, I came here to United States with no English, suitcase in my hand, and that's it.
Oh my gosh. How did you learn the language?
Oh yeah, so when I came to United States, literally the second day that I was here, my mom took me to local high school here, and they had me take a bunch of different tests, and math, science, all that stuff was very easy because it was in Polish. They had the test written in Polish,
I was
so
like,
that's how I was able to take the test. Yeah.
okay, so in the United States, they gave you a test in Polish so that you can understand it. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, because that high school was like a melting pot. We had people
Oh,
from all kinds of different walks, and they gave me another Polish student that he kind of walked me through, helped me figure out what the high school is about and those kinds of things, right? And they put me in two different ESL classes. ESL stands for English as a second language. So I was basically taught English. And here's the crazy part about this, which is what I blame my accent on, is that my first ESL teacher was Arabic with an accent, and the second English ESL teacher was Albanian with an accent. And that's what we have today. Yeah. So that's how I
my
learned
gosh.
English. But I remember distinctly thinking, when I was learning English, I remember the one part I was like, so wait a minute. Am I Polish or am I Polish? Right? Because it's the same looking word. It looks the same. It's all about context. And that was like, why do they make it so difficult with this English language? Why can keep it simple, right? In
Yeah,
Polish or Polish.
we do tend to make things more difficult, don't we?
Yeah. But
Oh
all
my,
kinds of different things with everything in life, really. So
yeah. So how long, curiosity, how long was it before you kind of felt comfortable speaking the language or speaking with people in English? Do you remember?
So it was probably 8 to 10 months. And what happened was, if you think about it, somebody would say something in English, and I would have to translate it in my head to Polish, come up with the answer in Polish, then translate it back to English, and it slowly would come out and over time. So there would be these pauses when somebody would say something, would I need to respond? But over time, it started getting better and better and better. You know what I mean? The
Oh,
first thing I think I learned is hearing language. Because when I first came here, Jen, I don't know if you have this experience with other languages, but it sounded one big gibberish. Like there was no, because Americans speak very fast.
yeah.
So it was like the one big gibberish thing. So the first thing I had to do is distinguish the words. Once I distinguished the words, that I could start to understand. Once I understood, I can start to apply. And then I finally was able to speak.
Holy cats. In all the years that we've known each other, I don't think I've ever heard you tell this story or talk about this and how this kind of plays in, talk about like goals, right? And achieving your goals and using your mind to be able to, I don't say dissect, but like, how are you going to learn this entire language? It's one thing when you're an adult and you're like, I think I'm going to learn another language, or we go to college or even in high school when you intentionally take something to learn. Whereas you're a 14-year-old kid and you're like, thrown into the fire and like, here, learn this.
Yeah.
It's not a mystery to me that you're teaching other people how to use their minds.
Well, yeah, you know what? Never thought about it that way, but yeah, I guess so, right? Because
Right.
if you think about it in that process, like it came from literally hearing, right? To kind of, it had to shift in my mind. And then was come to doing, and with the repetition, ended up learning the language.
Right.
And for the first probably, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 years, I don't know, I literally was thinking in Polish. Now I dream and think in English because I've been here for so long. So what that means to me is that the more you keep doing something over and over again becomes such a strong habit, such a strong neural pathway in your brain that you end up using it over and over and over again. I mean, I still speak Polish and I still speak the dialect that I came from Poland, but it's not as strong. I mean, yes, like when I went back to Poland not too long ago for a vacation, and when I walked into the village where I was living with my aunt and my uncle, and we have that dialect, it literally turned on like I never left
Really?
because that neural pathway is still there. You know what I mean? So the point I'm making is that for anybody who wants to get better at something, you gotta keep training this. You gotta keep reusing, gotta keep doing it over and over again to
Right.
get better.
Yeah, that probably takes me to how would you explain the difference between a person who's stuck in their mindset, thinking it's something that they can't change or something that they've been learned or conditioned or taught?
Mm.
You work in the mind shift, you're a mind shift coach. So explain that process a little bit or how you could articulate that.
Right. So that's a pretty good question. It's a great question, actually, because a lot of people think that if I go past certain age or whatever, it is what it is.
Right.
There's nothing that can change. The more you look at what the science is doing, especially the neuroscience world, they've developed and they found out over the years that doesn't matter how old you are, neural pathways, these little wires in your brain, still keep happening as
Mhm.
long as you keep learning something new. If you stop learning, then guess what? You stop kind of growing, right? And that's when the brain gets stagnant, kind of a thing. But when you start to learn something new and experience something new and be open to new experiences, that neural pathway starts firing up. So how is the mindset transformed to mind shift? Well, here's what I believe. And I wrote this in my book because it's one of the first chapters because it drives me crazy. I think the personal development space kind of, I don't know if it was on purpose or accidental. And that's why I keep talking about this because I had to learn it. But English language creates your world. Like what you say, how you say things, what you put out there will literally create what you see out there, how you interpret the world. And I think you get that, Jen, right? The word mindset, if you think about it, there's two words put together: mind, set. Mindset. Mind is set. Well, if you're looking to transform your mind and you keep saying mindset, maybe your subconscious is kind of fighting and it's like, what are you talking about? The mind is set. So if you think about it, every single time we do something or think about something, we're shifting our mind to something else. By the way, I said shifting, okay, not something
I know.
else.
I
Okay.
know. I got you.
Just clarifying because in our events that we do, yeah, they keep blaming me for saying something else.
I keep my podcast pretty clean, to be quite honest. I watch my language. My mom's one of my listeners, so I always got to keep it clean, or at least
Yeah.
try to anyway.
Exactly right. So think about it this way, like right now, don't think about a guy in a brown hat walking down the street in your neighborhood. Did that guy just some guy popped into your head, right? Now don't think about a pink elephant. That's been said a lot of times.
Mhm.
So what happened? Did you change your mind or you just shifted your thinking to something else? So if we start to look from that perspective, because think about it this way, your reptilian side of the brain is designed for survival, right? It's survive, survive, survive. So survival doesn't like change, wants to stick to the same old patterns, doesn't like to be changed. So if that's the case, then we're trying to change ourselves. It's going to be very hard and difficult. But if we look from shifting our behavior, shifting our mind, shifting our thoughts, shifting our beliefs, because a lot of them beliefs are running our life, shifting those beliefs, then guess what? All of a sudden it's not as difficult. It doesn't become like this hard job that you have to do when you're fighting. Sometimes it feels like you're fighting against the wall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. I think that people get on this loop, right? Like, again, going back to whether it be religion or beliefs or the way you were raised or something you learned in school, or even, I mean, I work in the wellness world, and a lot of the times people are struggling with their food, and it's just the habit. We're creatures of habit. We get up, we do the same things, but people often like they desire a different outcome, but they're not willing to like literally shift and look a different direction and actually create different habits. And that's why, for me, as you know, and many have heard me say my vision, the vision that I read and the vision that you helped me create. And it's obviously changed and evolved over the years. It's like I read that every day, sometimes multiple days, because it allows me to shift my mindset out of the negative experience I'm having at that point in time, or the feeling I'm having, or the thought I'm having, or you get kind of down in the dumps, like, I can't do this. I read my vision and it shifts my mindset to remind me this is actually the way, Jen. This is where we're going. Get on the bus. We're going this way. So it's the practice of shifting, getting yourself back into, I don't want to say the mindset, but shifting your mind into this frame. Let's call it a mind frame. Is that okay? Is that word work?
Cool. I like that mind frame. Yeah. Just
Mind
think about it
frame.
this way. Like what you're doing is you're shifting towards the future as opposed to looking to the past.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people keep looking to the past.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, here's the other thing which you just mentioned that kind of sparked me is a lot of people look from the perspective of, oh, I know this is going to happen. And most of the time it's something bad. You know what I mean? Oh, I think this bad thing is going to happen. And then it happens. And you're like, see, I knew it, right? That happens a lot. People do that a lot. So in a way, think about it this way, what you foresee, what you tell yourself, what you are saying to yourself and putting it out there, there is some truth to that because you just experienced it from something bad.
Right.
So if you can do that, guess what? Maybe you can do it with something good, like putting a vision in your life that's really empowering you, that's moving and touching and inspiring you to go towards that vision. And most people don't look from that perspective to put, if I had the life that I truly want, what would I put on there? What would be in that life? And I think that's what I love about you, what you put on there, because you're living that vision, right?
Mhm.
What you put years ago, now you're living that vision.
Yeah, it's exciting. One of the things that I loved about being in Life and Air is that it puts you in a container of people and it puts you in a container in a space to allow you to daydream. I'm a business person. My monkey mind is always in the business, but when I actually take myself out, whether it be a solo trip or I just go do something and get in the space, it's like I get really excited to daydream about what does this life look like, because the body doesn't really know the difference between a thought and an actual experience. So I'm constantly thinking and thinking and thinking about what this looks like, my visualizations. And so whenever I think about it, I get really excited, even if it's not something that's maybe happening entirely at this minute or I'm manifesting something new. It's like the excitement is there because I can literally see it. I can feel it. I can taste it. I can see it. And yeah, that's the power of the brain. I think that's
Yeah.
the power of the mind.
And what you're touching on then is the belief side, because I think that's a really important aspect that vision, which you're talking about, like you envision it to a point which you can taste it, you can see it, you
Mhm.
believe it, like without a shadow of a doubt, you believe that that's will happen, that will happen.
Right.
And I think that's an important aspect to this whole entire equation, because if you start saying, well, you know what, yeah, that's good, but not gonna happen, then guess what? You're literally shutting the possibility, right?
Right.
And then the last thing that needs to happen is actually taking action, because a lot of times people just think about it like, you know what, I want the Lambo in my yard, in my, driveway, and it's just going to magically show up. Well, sometimes it happens, but not, you have to take action. If you won the lottery, it might show up, right?
Yeah.
Or you're
But you have to take action. You got to buy the ticket.
right. You got to buy the ticket, right? And you have to take action. I think most people, that's where they get stuck
Yeah.
and they don't take action towards that. And one of the reasons because they're not clear what actions they need to take, what's the future.
Mhm.
And they constantly, because they don't have that vision that you kept talking about, they keep making the decision based on their current circumstances, like
Yeah.
what's going on in their life. You know,
Right.
I got an offer of this job and it's in Michigan and I live in Florida, so it's going to pay me good money, so I'm going to move to Michigan. All right. But if you saw what your vision is, what you ultimately want to live at, you start to discover like, well, Michigan is not the answer, right? Granted, maybe paying more there, but start making decisions based on the future, not the
Right.
current.
Yeah, I think that the vision has been the roadmap. And one of the many things that I learned from you is create the vision so that you could stay in your alignment. And oftentimes, whether it be big decisions in business or decisions in family or decisions that I've had to make just in my personal development, it's like, does it fit in my vision? And that's actually become, like I said, the roadmap and the guardrails for my life is like, if it doesn't fit or align in the vision, it's not happening. Otherwise, why the hell they write it? Like if you say you want something, but yet you take all the action to either negate it or to create problems for it, like those two things can't both be true. If you create this vision or want this lifestyle or want to fit into this size pair of jeans or you want to find this particular partner in life, but yet you're, for example, I'll use our sober life, so to speak, right? If I want a partner who doesn't drink alcohol and puts a focus on health and well-being and they like to take walks and they enjoy meditation and quiet time and books and all these things, I'm not going to be hanging out at the bar probably 6 days a week looking for that spouse because you're not meditating, you're not sober, you're not reading at the bar. You know what I mean? So it's like these two things, your decisions and your actions need to align with the outcome you desire. And so that was a huge mind shift
Yeah.
when you and I first met because I had so much on my plate. I was doing so many things, yet I was struggling. I was exhausted. I had some family issues going on. Mark and I were arguing constantly because he was still struggling with alcoholism. And it was like one by one, we went through the actions, like take me through the day in the life of Jen and plucked out all the things that weren't going to work and I shouldn't
Mhm.
spend time and energy in if I wanted this outcome over here. And it was like, huh,
Yeah. Yeah. I never thought about it
right?
that way, right? Yeah.
I needed you to tell me. And sometimes that's what we need, right? That's
Yeah.
the importance of a coach or people stepping outside their comfort zone or asking somebody to come in and help when you're really struggling. That's always been something that I've desired and I enjoy investing time and money and energy into is a coach or someone that can be in my life to keep me on my rails. How did you get into this work? I know we were talking about your childhood and teenage years. What was the catalyst or what was the bright light where you're like, I'm going to teach people to shift their mindset?
Well,
What happened?
so back in 2011, I got divorced. And after the divorce, my life wasn't very pretty, meaning I was optimistically depressed. I didn't know it at the time, but you know what I mean by that? Optimistically depressed?
No,
Like,
explain.
well, I was like in the dumps, didn't want to do anything. In fact, like the place that I lived in at that particular time wasn't all that clean because I was just not motivated to do anything. I was just going from day to day, just just doing the bare minimum kind of a thing because I was depressed. But
Yeah.
optimistic side, when people ask me how you doing, I'm good, everything's good, right? That's being optimistic about being depressed, right? So at one point, I had a conversation with a friend of mine. Her name is Wendy Patton. She's like a real estate queen of lease options kind of a thing that she does a lot of things. And I've helped her in some of the stuff in her business. And I had a conversation with her, told her what's happening with me. And she goes, well, guess what? I know a guy who went through something similar. If you give you his name, then would you call him? I'm like, sure. So I called the guy, you know him, Jason, and we started having conversations. And through him, I ended up getting into Life on Air and being into the retreats and doing all the work that I've done. And that helped me get my mind straight, kind of a thing, right? Shift my mind. And then as I was going, sitting in those rooms, because imagine there is a room of, let's say, 20 some people, and we're sitting around in a hotel room, and everybody has their own turn. And when they have their own turn, the other people in the room are pouring into them and they're asking questions. And I was the guy who was constantly poking. They called me the poker. Like I would just go and ask the tough questions. I would say, well, why is that? You know what I mean? And people would get emotional, they would cry, and all the different things that I do, And at some point, somebody in the room said, well, you should be a coach. I'm like, what? No. And they keep saying, you should be a coach. So because of the people in the room, I ended up stepping up and being coach. And I started the T7 group with Garcia. And that's how I ended up being a coach. But it wasn't because I said something, but because some of them people saw something in me and they started telling me you should do that. So sometimes it's really important to listen to people who care about you.
Oh my
Mm.
gosh, that is fun. I don't think I knew that either. I don't think I knew the steps in the process. What that verifies is I know why we're friends now because I was always
Yeah, you're a poker too. Yes, that's why I loved you in the group because I don't have to constantly be the bad guy. You know what I mean? The poker, you can poke a little bit.
we're usually on the opposite side of the room. I'm like, you gonna take this one or am I gonna take this one?
Mhm. Yeah. Hmm.
I do miss our group. I miss our collaborations, life changing on every level for so many reasons. Okay, so you step up to be a coach and you get into that role. Now you're the person that's guiding a group of people. What does that feel like? We talk a bit about 3D and 4D and getting ourselves like up and out into different dimensions and ascending into a different frequency.
Yeah.
So, how do you guide people into that space? And now you're at the front of the room teaching people. I know this
Yeah.
answer because I've been in your group for years,
Yeah.
but how would you describe that for somebody who's curious?
Well, I think you just said it right there at the end. Curiosity. I
Yes.
think curiosity is a huge part of helping others because most of the times, think about it, what we do in life is we just show up and want to talk about whatever it is that we want to talk about. And we don't listen to people, right? If you start actually getting curious and listening to people around you, you start to discover their story. And when you start to discover their story, you start to find out what's really going on because you come from that place of non-judgment. And I think a few things that help me being a coach the way that I am is one, curiosity. I think that's important. Most people don't do that. Two, having no judgment. And I always say this to, people in our group, listen, there's no judgment here. What's said here stays here, right? And you know this very well. Because think about it this way. I'm no better than anybody in the world. I'm just different. And if you really think about it, for those of you listening, whoever it might be in your life, consider that you only know about 10-20% of their entire story. Not because they are hiding it, but because it's literally impossible for them to tell you your entire story, even like your spouse, right? It's like, for instance, Mark, he can't tell you every single thing about his life because you forgot about it, but your subconscious still knows it or whatever it might be, right? So if it's your spouse, you probably know their 80% of their story. For any strangers, you probably know maybe 5% of their story, 10% of their story. And then we basically judge people based on that little tiny bit that we know about them. But when you start getting curious and let go of the judgment, you start to open up and be more authentic and you allow for them to be authentic and open up with you. And that's when the transformation comes because the real person, the real authentic person starts to show up. And that's when people start to actually shift because I know I'm getting a little excited here, right? Because I love this kind
Go
of thing.
for it. Go
Right.
for it.
Think about it this way. When you were born, when you were little, you were fearless. You did whatever you wanted to do. Granted, it was, at that point, it was not the best thing because you could just poop everywhere and people just cleaned you up and you eat anytime and you had your personal chef and you had all kinds of different things, right? But you were fearless and you didn't worry about what the world says. And you did whatever you thought was good at the same exact time. And I think there is a lot of that truth to be who we truly are, the authenticity of us. And over time, what ended up happening, the world, parents, society, school, whoever it might be, started telling you otherwise. They started putting different beliefs on you. And they said, well, Johnny, you can't run around anymore. You have to sit straight, don't move. And you start putting different beliefs on you. And what ended up over time, you start carrying all these beliefs. All the things that somebody else told you, you started believing and agreeing with it and you start carrying all those different things and now it becomes a huge weight. So when we talk about being non-judgmental, you allow other people to go and basically maybe let go of that belief or be aware of that belief because most of us not even aware of them and let go of this, let go of that. And then it's when that feels like the weight has been lifted off your shoulders. You feel more empowered. You feel like you can do things. You don't feel stuck anymore because you start to like, okay, I can see the possibilities now, right? I can create a vision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I'm actually replaying in my mind
Yeah.
one of the first retreats that Mark and I came to,
Yeah.
and I laid it all out.
Mm.
I remember I cried for like an hour straight
Yep.
And Mark was freaked out because he'd never seen me that emotional before.
Hmm.
Obviously, everyone else is strangers in the room, so they don't have anything to judge or compare to. None of my best friends are in the room. My family's not in the room. Nobody knew me except for Mark. And this was when I was like dealing with the grief and the loss of my dad. It was shortly after that.
Hmm.
And I was carrying just baggage, like
Yeah.
suitcase full of resentment and anger and sadness and all of these things. And I brought it to the room and I just
Yeah.
unloaded
Happens a
it.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, because I felt safe. I felt safe in the container and I felt safe to just let it go and to allow myself to feel that emotion in front of other people, but also ask for help. Like that is not an easy thing for, I can't say that it's not an easy thing for me to do now because I ask for help all the time now. But at that time, I was living in such like a martyr mindset. Like I had to just stay strong because that was my belief system is like,
Yeah.
got to be tough. We have thick skin. We have to just muscle through it. You don't show your emotions. And, the expectations that people had of me to be like the strong one in the family or the pillar, the one who's always got it together. And it's like, I didn't have it together at that time. Like I was a
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah.
And so allowing myself to actually go through and feel that, but then the amount of strangers, at that time who poured into me and saw something in me, a lot of different things, a lot of different feelings and love and energy and ideas and things came pouring in. And it was like, this is where the shift happened in my mind. It's like, okay, first of all, people care about the situation, but also here are some ways in which I can help myself. And I'll never forget that was when Marty piped up and shared some different ways that I could take a solo trip. She had suggested me taking a solo trip and like writing a letter to my dad and sitting down with the grief and actually writing out some things. She had given me some very clear ideas and examples. And next thing you know, the whole room's like chiming in and pouring all these ideas in. And I took that trip. A few months later, I took that trip. I went to Florida, spent 4 days in a hotel room in Florida.
Those are
Le-
fun 4 days, weren't they?
Oh my God, I was a hot mess. I was a hot mess.
Yeah. I think you told me that you went through like 2 or 3 different tissue boxes or something.
Oh my God. It was, I mean, I got to the point where I just laid in the bathtub crying because I ran out of things, my face, but it felt so good. And I was like, I would have never had that idea. I would have never known to do that. And so it was just opening the mind and opening the heart and allowing other people to help. And so that was just such a life-changing thing. And now I take solo trips every year for, not in that capacity,
No, yeah.
obviously. But I kind of plan out some different things that I can do at that and those trips. And it's because I learned from somebody else how to manage and how to work through grief and how to work through loss. And so that was life changing.
I love that. So can I ask you a question about this? Because I
Yeah.
think that will help people on the podcast. So when you were in the room and you were pouring your heart out, and then when you went on that trip, when you were crying and writing the letters and things like that, outside of you in life, did anything change at that particular moment, that time?
What do you mean?
Like
What's that?
outside the circumstances of life, out there, did anything change at the time?
No.
No. Did you change? Did you feel better? Did it feel like the weight was off your shoulders by doing
After the
that?
trip?
Yeah, the trip, or even in the room, just pouring yourself out and just talking it out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, two things. I felt completely different. I felt like a completely different person in my skin and in my body after leaving that share. And then, yes, after the trip, I've never been the same since, right? Like, it was like I left that old self on the beach in Fort Myers, and I've never been the same since because I left all of that grief and sadness and resentment. And I opened up my heart differently while I was there. And I came back a changed person
Yeah.
entirely. But my life, if that's what you're getting at, like my
Yeah.
life and no other circumstances changed.
Right. So the reason why I'm asking this because I want the people on there listening here get very clear that don't hold the stuff in. You gotta let it go, right? You gotta talk it out, whoever it might be, right? Because it makes a huge difference. Because then you have a different capacity, different way of actually dealing with life. And most people, I think, especially like men, a lot of times, right? And they're like, "Oh, I'm good. We don't need to talk. How are you? Good." And that's it. That's how they live, right? You gotta let it out. Can't hold it in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, again, that's completely that coaching in the Life and Air family, everything completely changed mine and Mark's relationship, obviously, as you know that. And I've shared that on the show many times. Mark's been on the show. We've talked about that. The communication, it just opened up a different level of communication and honesty and authenticity
Mhm.
that I thought I had to kind of, I don't want to say hide because I wasn't really intentionally hiding it, but I wasn't open to living it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was living more authentic and communicating in a way with loving kindness. And to this day, I say sometimes if you're having hard conversations or in a room where people are asking for help, it's like, okay, I'm going to ask a hard question, but I say it with loving kindness. This isn't coming from a place of judgment. This is coming from a place of love. And then you proceed with your question. That has been a game changer in my life from a communication standpoint. So I want to shift gears and talk about your book a
Okay.
little bit. So, first of all, I'm super excited. I
Tell me
think
about it. Jeez.
I
Talk
know.
about being excited.
I know. So they can pre-order it as of today,
Exactly.
correct? Yep, they can pre-order it, and then they're gonna get a nice little August Christmas present come August 19th. So that's exciting with a bunch of
Mm,
bonuses. So let's talk about the book. I want to know why you wrote it and what's in it. Tell me all about it.
Well, if you want to know what's in, then you got to buy the book, Jen.
Oh,
No, I'm joking. So listen, how the book came about. So remember earlier in the podcast, I shared with you that after my divorce, I was optimistically depressed. In fact, I remember having this question over and over and over with me. It was, what the hell is wrong with me? And so the book has been this me right now where I'm at, talking to myself in that particular time and helping that old self step out of that, because I had to go through a lot of there was two different parts in the book. The first big part, I think, is probably, I would say, 2/3 of the book is all about, I call it awakening. And what that means is you gotta literally know who you are. And most of us don't know that. So I go through all kinds of different exercises. I go through beliefs. So uncover a lot of those beliefs. I'll uncovering what you think and how you think and the neuroscience behind it. And I talk about the fears and all kinds of different things. Because once you get through that awakening, because that's what I went through after I, joined the mastermind, and then comes the rebirth process. That comes this shift that ends up happening, and you get to the other side and you get back to your true authentic self. And if you think about it, if you know my story, one of the things that I had a problem with is my accent, right? I hated my accent back in the day. In fact, during that time, I hated it because I couldn't get anything done. Now I love it. I use it. And I want people to be empowered in a way that brings their true authenticity out, because guess what? That's what I think people crave right now, because there's so much inauthenticity, so much fakeness out there. I mean, look at some of the influencers and all those different things. It's like, look at me, I'm so great. And people are looking for authenticity. And I think that when you get back to your true authentic self, and I go do some exercises to help them get there, then you feel yourself. I feel like you're in that, you know what I mean? Like you feel like you're in that sweet spot kind of a thing.
yeah,
And then
flow.
do whatever you can.
Yeah, I feel like when you get in the sweet spot and you're in your alignment, you feel like everything is in flow. Like you're in your body, you're in your soul feels aligned. I've used this analogy multiple times, but I like to envision myself kind of like in a canoe or in a kayak going down the river. And sometimes the waters are a little choppy, sometimes it's smooth sailing, sometimes it's rapidly moving. Whatever it is, we're always in flow, we're always moving, and water is such a beautiful element. If you're getting stuck up on the embankment and you're stuck there, you got to get yourself off that and get back in the river of flow. When you're flowing and you're going, if you've ever been in a kayak or canoe, or if you've ever been to one of those water parks when you're on the lazy river, when you're just going, it's just like,
Mhm.
this is where it's at. This is what we're doing. This feels good. And so I love that you basically have two parts where you crack a person open, like open up those narrow pathways, open up those desires and those interests and the vision of what a person sees and what they could desire they want. And then over here, it's like, how do we get there? Is that what I'm understanding? It's kind
Yeah,
of like
that's
two.
basically it. Yeah. So we talk about, like, first you got to crack the shell and let
Mm,
go of the old self. Because here's the thing. Remember, earlier in the podcast, I talked about that once you hit certain age, as you were little, you start learning of what you need to do, how you need to do it, because the world says this, and teacher says this, and society says this, and you
mm,
start to agree to other people's beliefs. So what we're doing, the first part, is we're letting go, shifting away from that old beliefs that the world told us that we need to be and how we need to be, think about this in personal development space, you need to change yourself, or you need to change yourself. And you're changing not true self. You're changing the old that somebody told you to be self. And that's why it's so hard, because it's not you, right?
Right.
So when you just get back, let go of some of those beliefs, get back to your true authentic self, all of a sudden, like you said, it becomes more flow. It's like you can tackle anything in your life at that point. Nothing gets you upset. You don't get hooked by things in life like you used to. You don't get angry as much. You don't feel stuck, because then you start looking from the perspective of, well, just take this action. Let's go here. Let's go here, because you operating in that truth kind of a thing. So it makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, I love that feeling. I'm not always in it. I mean, anybody who says that they're always in unstoppable mode is lying to you, but we've all been there. We all know what that feels like when you feel fearless and you're unstoppable, and it's okay to ebb and flow. It's fine. Like I spend a ton of intentional time like reset, integration, learning, educating, implementing, doing things. But when it's go time, it's like the fog lifts and it's like, let's go. Let's friggin' go. So I love that. I love that analogy. And I love your book. One of my favorites. I couldn't wait to see the cover of it
Yeah.
because one of the things that we talked about is you get to put your name on the cover and you get to say, this is what we're doing. Yeah.
That's right.
This,
Yeah.
you get to start off. I feel like when I see it, I'm like, ooh, I'm like, I got myself a little workbook and it's mine. And you get to write your name on it and say, this is
Oh,
what
yeah. So here's. So this is the interior of the cover, right?
Yes.
See at the top of it, says write your name on the line. So literally on the front cover of the book, you, the reader, can go and put your own name on there. And it will be Jen's Authentic Self Rebirth, Mark's
Yeah.
Authentic Self Rebirth. And I think I want people to embody the book. I want them to use it and just have it in front of them. And it's like a manual, like a 4-letter life kind of a thing, right? It's not a book that you just read it once and put it away. It's a
Right.
book that you can keep going to. It's like your vision. And I don't think there is another book that does this. So through the brainstorming, I love the fact that we got to do that. And I fight with a publisher to put it on there, and it's on there, and we're gonna rock it out.
I love that you fought for what you wanted. That is something that we talked about. I know you wanted that on early on, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so I normally do a couple rapid fire questions. What would be your one wellness ritual that you're loving right now that is keeping you in your frame and you in your authentic self?
So this is gonna sound strange, Jan, but because it's like a wellness thing, right? That it feels good kind of a thing. The one thing I'm doing right now, that's the ritual, cold showers. And I've been doing them for months, and and it's like I am literally training my mind to obey me, not the other way around. And that's why I love it. I hate getting under, right? Because it's like, oh, and you breath and all that kind of stuff. But I get in there, get in a cold shower, and I work. I basically have a conversation in my mind, who's in charge kind of a thing. So that's
Okay.
my ritual that I'm doing right now.
I love it, Peter. Are you kidding
Mm.
me? I sit in my cold plunge almost every morning. There are mornings where I'm like standing in this thing knee deep till you get in. And I'm like, Jen, just get in. What? Come on. Like, just get in. I'm like, I don't want to. No, you got to get in. No, I don't want to right now. So I get it. But once you get in and you submerge and you're under, it's like, yes, this is
Mhm.
like, it's invigorating. I love it. Cold plunging or cold showers isn't for everybody, but it is a mind shift. And it's
Yeah.
definitely one that I really enjoy. So, before we sign off, are there any other words of wisdom? I feel like you are loaded with wisdom.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk to you all day.
Mhm.
Seriously, we could jam out on this. What would be some final words of wisdom if somebody was rattling something around in their brain?
Well, I would say is this: wherever you are right now in life, don't let the world tell you who you're not. And I think a lot of times we tend to agree to what the world says. And then we start to internalize it, and it seems like it's us who is telling us. And if you start to recognize the fact that it's at some point the world told you something that you shouldn't do or shouldn't be, and things like that, and you start to recognize that, you start to go and say, is this really true? And if you discover that's not really true, then you can start taking different actions. And I will tell you this: I've worked with thousands of people with the events and things like that. And I have yet to meet a person who is not bigger than they thought they are. Like we human beings, if you really think about this, how we're created, the stuff that's going on in our body, right? Even the fact that the heart is beating, nonstop, automatically, without us thinking, without doing anything, and it's constantly pumping and doing 30,000 things in our body, whether we like it or not, and whether we're paying attention or not. It's like a freaking miracle, right? So if you look from that perspective, look how powerful you are. Give yourself the opportunity to go and step in here in that mind, because it's vast, it's powerful, to be able to transform your life and write that vision that we talked about in there. Once you write that vision, what you want your future to look like, and then like Jen said, keep reading it every day. Write it in present tense. Write it what you want in the present tense, and keep reading it over and over and over again, and bring emotion into it. Bring the spark into it, like she was talking about. And you might be surprised what's going to happen in your life, just like you, Jen. And I'm so freaking grateful for you and grateful for my relationship with you. I will tell you this, at the end of the day, you have taught me more to be a coach than I can ever describe it to you. So I really appreciate that, and appreciate you having me on the podcast. And I just hope that, I can help others. And I know you're going to transform a whole bunch of different lives because of who you are. So thank you.
Thank you. You're going to make me cry. I love your passion and your compassion. And that's one of the many reasons why I love you and our friendship. And I have no doubt that you've inspired people today. It's one of the many reasons why I wanted to invite you on my show, is because you have impacted my life probably more than most people, to be quite honest. You know things about me that no one else knows. You have impacted me. There's no measure to even describe it. So I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you so much. Where can my listeners find you? If they want to read the book, connect with you, check out Life in There.
Yep. Two things. One, the book that's in pre-sale right now. So go pick it up at your favorite bookstore where you go. You can find all the links to your favorite bookstore on myauthenticrebirth.com. Go figure, I picked a title that's not the easiest thing for this accent, right? myauthenticrebirth.com. And I share a lot of those little wisdom videos on my Instagram channel. It's called Authentic Self-Rebirth. Authentic Self-Rebirth. So find that channel on Instagram and follow me on there, and I'll share more information on there. And like Jen said, lifeonair.com is where we share a lot of people with the impact that they do. We do events around the country, help people create the visions for their lives. So if you choose to do that, you can go over there as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Peter. You are a true light worker and bright light in this world. And I'm so grateful that you came to the US when you were 14.
Me too. And listen, I will tell you this, everything happens for you. Think about that for a minute. Everything happens for you. So if you start thinking that way, your life will start to transform. And last thing, Jen, I want to give you a hug. Let's do a virtual hug. You and your hug. There you go.
I've never done a podcast hug. Thank you.
There you go.
To tell you, that's actually one of the most impactful things you've ever said to me, and that I've shared that with thousands of people, is life happens for us, not to us.
Yeah.
And when we let that sink in and step back and look at a situation and think, why is this happening for me right now? That's where the shift, that's where the mind shift comes in. So
you got it.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate you so much. Talk to you soon. Okay, friends and fellow wellness warriors, thanks for tuning in today. If this show was helpful and inspired you, please head over to Apple or Spotify to rate, review, subscribe, and follow us, as well as share it with your friends and family. It's a fantastic way to grow the show, expand my reach, and teach others how to create a vibrant life they love. If you're ready to invest in your health and purchase a Clear Light sauna, hop on over to jenhellerlifestyle.com and send me a note. Thanks again for tuning in. I love you. I'm grateful for you. And I thank you so much for your support. You are the reason I do this work. You are the reason I do this show. And you are the reason I get up every single day with a burning desire in my soul. Cheers to your health and happiness, my friends. We'll see you next week. This podcast is for general information purposes only and is not intended to be substituted for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you think you have a medical condition, consult your licensed physician.